everybody. I'm Dr. Cindy Howard, a chiropractic internist and nutritionist, and your host today of the Positively Altered podcast. We talk about, pretty much anything and everything with absolutely no filter, raw, and just come as you are, usually with some sort of a health twist, and today is absolutely no exception. So I have one big word for everybody to think about: Metabolomics. Yeah, sounds like there's baloney in there, doesn't it? Or something really weird. I don't know what that word is. Okay, that's not true. I do, but it's a new one, and I bet a lot of our listeners out there have never heard about metabolomics. So don't go anywhere. Listen to our sponsors because they're super important to me, and then come right back. I'm going to introduce you to my next guest who's going to tell us what that word means. And by the way, it has nothing to do with baloney.
Hello, my name is Heather Lord, and I am the COO of Professional Health Products. Cutting corners is an all too common practice in the dietary supplement industry. When my father founded Professional Health Products, he sourced the cleanest, most biologically active ingredients from around the globe. Today, that commitment remains, which is why the finest healthcare practitioners, like Dr. Cindy, have trusted us for more than 40 years. We oversee the entire process in our manufacturing facility, from sourcing and formulation to manufacturing and labeling. Today, we offer over 300 unique products that can be tailored to the nutritional and homeopathic needs of each individual. Most recently, we launched a proprietary genetic test, allowing our practitioners to get even more dialed in to their patients' health. To learn more about Professional Health Products, please talk to your practitioner or visit our website at phpltd.com.
Today, your life is going to be altered. I'm Dr. Cindy.
Welcome to Infinity. We have worked hard to create an electronic claims website that is simple and user-friendly. This is the public side. You can log into your personal web portal here. This is your dashboard. You can personalize it to your liking here. Our main focus has been to allow you to submit and edit claims as easy as possible. You will find our claims editor and claims processing is simple to use and straightforward. Our quick action bar is where you can find your most important information. Most of these icons will take you directly to the claims the number represents. You can easily view if you have any messages in your inbox of any unread alerts by looking for these blue numbers. To view the rest of our training videos to get the most of your Infinity experience, click this icon. We hope you find this web portal simple and easy to use. Thanks for letting us serve you.
I'm Dr. Cindy. Who wouldn't want to join me for the Positively Altered podcast? Welcome back. I'm glad you didn't disappear and that you took a quick listen to our sponsors. I am super excited today to introduce you to my friend, Dr. Scott Scheer. He is the COO of Health Optimization, Medicine, and Practice. That is a mouthful. And we are going to talk about a bunch of fun things, including that big fancy word that is now becoming more and more popular in medicine. Scott, welcome. I'm so excited to have you.
It's great to be here, Cindy. I don't like bologna. It's not one of my favorite types of meat, I have to tell you.
I'm so glad.
I do like Metabolomics, though.
It's not a recommendation I usually make either. It's just, when I said that word, for whatever reason, the word bologna came to mind. And I'm like, we got to clear that up, right? We've got to give everybody a true definition of what that means.
It's one of the hardest words to spell in the English language, too. Bologna, right? You never would, like when your kids are learning how to spell bologna, it's like, no, it's just don't even pretend like those letters don't exist. It's bologna.
Well, see, you and I picked a good profession for that because, I have this joke that I always tell people, why the reason or what the reason is that doctors write messy?
Why?
We don't want you to know that we can't spell. And we get away with it, right? Because who can read our handwriting? It's absolutely atrocious.
I remember those days when I was in the medical wards trying to write out notes. I got voted the worst handwriting of all of my residency class.
That's awesome.
It's quite a feat to be that with a whole bunch of other residents, right? So this is before we had computerized notes and computerized ordering, and so you had to go to everybody's charts and write script notes, and like there would be faxed to pharmacies, and I would get so much hell for it because my handwriting sucked so bad.
Oh my God, I love it. I always say
Yeah.
you either come in first or last. Like to be in the middle and just stuck between things, just
Why?
it's not fun.
Or second worst, right? Or no, first worst, right? Where that's like if you come in second place, right? So
I love it. I hope they gave you a big giant plaque, like with something that you can't read to put on the wall in the office.
yeah, I really wish I do have. I've probably someplace I have some experimental handwriting from my residency days, but thankfully that's behind us. Now we can use computers, and I don't make as many people mad with my handwriting anymore. So
I absolutely love it. I know we're jumping in, but before we jump in, I have to tell you, and actually I really just want to say thank you. We met through a mutual friend at a conference, and you turned my mouth blue, and we're going to just leave it there for a moment so people stay tuned to figure out how it is you turned my mouth blue.
Actually blue, not metaphorically for people listening, but
no, really, like actually blue, which by the way is my least favorite color, Scott. So we're going to have to work on like a purple or orange version of this. And
blue's your least favorite color. This is something we probably need to dig in for you, Cindy. Why is blue your worst favorite color?
How did we turn this around to become a therapy session about me?
Well, I don't know. Just I'm interested. Like, how is it blue? Out of all colors.
You know what? I don't resonate with blue. It's a very corporate color. I don't like, I don't know. I love red and I'm a little manic, and I love orange and that's a little weird. And I love green because it's health. And I don't know. I don't operate in sort of this corporate headspace. So I think, I don't know. It's just good to like, you got to hate something so that you love something, right? You got to have that dichotomy.
True. That's true. Okay. I apologize for the side note. I was just interested in your blue.
So enough about my bad choice of colors here. So I wanted to thank you because, 25 years in practice, 25 years ago when I first started out, I couldn't get a medical doctor to talk to me, let alone look at me, let alone like even acknowledge that I exist. And medicine has come so far to where we're now in an environment, I think, where we're crossing, right? We're crossing over into different areas, and we're communicating better, and we're taking better care of patients, because we're forgetting about the letters behind our name so much and realizing that it's important to dive into other aspects of health for the sake of the patient. So I just want to thank you. I think this is absolutely fabulous because, Scott's got MD behind his name, and, don't ever hold that against him. It's, it's good,
Indeed.
Right? It's good.
Well, you know as well as I do, Cindy, for those that are listening, my father is a chiropractor. He's been a chiropractor for 45 years in New York, on Long Island in New York. And he just celebrated his 70th birthday. So he's been doing this for a while, and he's a machine, and he loves what he does. And there was no such thing that he was aware of when I was younger, something called a chiropractic internist. That was not even something that existed. And so it's super cool to see the group of chiropractors that you have really cultivated over the many years that you've been doing this, doing some fantastic work. And so, I feel it's a challenge because conventional medicine is such a significant box still, but there are like little holes in the box, and there are people like me and others that are allowing to be more integration, and a lot of more integrative docs that are MDs now. And unfortunately, a lot of them had to have their own experiences where the medical system has failed them. And I know the medical system was not very happy or good to you over the years either, Cindy. But you had the knowledge outside the box to be able to create something. And now doctors like me, with more of a history of getting shit on by the system, are now more open to what's out there, which is great.
I love it. And, no, it's failed me, but it's also saved my life. So I'm very grateful for the integration of both, and can recognize that, no matter what we believe or what we walk through, sometimes we just have to look on different paths to find really the success stories. So I'm grateful for that, and our relationship, and how we're going to continue to change the world. So let's do that.
Likewise. Well, it's good to be here. And like, that's what I try to do with my clinical practice, is really try to have an integrative mindset, right? I don't think that anything should be off the table. I don't think that conventional medicine should be off the table. I think it'd be very helpful in certain cases, but most of the time, if there is time, then there's more that we can do outside of the conventional system to see significant benefit with our patients over the long term, not just the short-term benefit of maybe an acute care situation or acute medication that may not be necessary in a lot of cases.
So now that we've teased anybody with our baloney word that doesn't mean baloney or bologna, what is see, now I can't even say it. What is oh my gosh. See, the baloney's got me all screwed up. Metabolomics. Tell us what that is.
It's a difficult word to say. So metabolism is the word that most people know. Like, oh, my metabolism is this, my metabolism is that, right? That's what everybody kind of talks about in kind of like a lay kind of perspective, or like a regular people kind of perspective. But what metabolomics really is the study of these small molecules that are involved in the work of your cells on a day-to-day basis. And so you can think of the metabolism or metabolomics in the sense of like everybody knows their genes. Like genes are called your genome, right? So you have like these genes that don't change. They're in your genome. What changes the expression of these kinds of genes as we age, as we do things like exercise or environment and toxins. And this can be seen in your epigenetics, which is like another science of how genes express. It's also called your proteins that get transcribed from your DNA. That's called proteomics. You have actually, before that, you have this transcription of your DNA called transcriptomics. That's genomics, transcriptomics, proteomics, and then you have something called metabolomics. Okay, and so metabolomics is basically this area where you can measure what's happening in your environment at the same time as you can measure what's happening with the expression of your DNA, all in real time. And there's really no other level that we have enough data to be able to kind of integrate those particular places from inside and outside all at the same time. And metabolomics, looking at like endogenous metabolites, so things like your vitamins, minerals, and nutrients, and that's happening in your mitochondria, for example. And you have things that are exogenous outside your body, like your food, your microbes, toxins, medications, environmental stimuli like light, water, magnetism. That's all coming from the outside. So in metabolomics, what you're able to do is take all of that data and integrate it together and understand how you can truly optimize somebody now and over the long term. And this is very different than looking at, there's different ways to look at it. There's different sciences of metabolomics where you can just look at like how this kind of correlates to disease and various conditions. But the way we do it at our nonprofit, Health Optimization Medicine and Practice, is looking at more from a health perspective. How can you keep the cells and the gut and the hormones? How can you keep everything healthy? How can you optimize them for healthy levels? And the way you do that is by looking at all the levels and the networks that they're in, and then optimizing them from when we were about 21 to 30 years of age. So looking at normalizing the values to that particular range, because that's when we're the most optimal for everything that everybody imagines or remembers when they were between 21 and 30. Those the most resilient. They don't need as much sleep. They can procreate very easily if they're not careful, and they can fight wars and battles. And so it's fitness function, right? So our real goal as a human species, in the really as animals, is to procreate and to live long enough to do that, right? So that's when we're most primed to be able to do that. And so if we can optimize our levels to be in that range between 21 and 30 for hormones, for vitamins, for minerals, for nutrients, like that's when we're going to be at our best. So metabolomics, in short, is kind of a real-time assessment of how your cells are doing right now. And then what we can do for them in real time, we can measure over time as we look at that testing in the future, as you progress.
Okay, so I'm clearly older than 21 to 30. Emotionally,
okay,
it's debatable,
sure.
right?
Okay, all right,
debatable.
Sure.
But here's my belief system, and then my question back to you. You know, we hear commonly people just say, well, I'm getting older, and they accept certain things as they age as truth because we just age. I'm of the mindset that even though we're most optimal at 20 to 31, that doesn't mean there aren't things that we can't do to shift that at my age or 30 years older than me, we can't appear or seem to be as vital as we were in that decade if we do the right things. Do you believe that?
Oh, 100%. Yeah. I mean, so it's a physical and a mental thing, right? We always, what they say, like what youth is wasted on the young. That's like the common thing that people say, because when you're older, you're wiser, you have more perspective, you have a better patience. Typically, you're kind of a nicer human typically when you're older as well. You can be kind of an asshole when you're younger because you just don't have like a perspective, right? This is just, you're very egotistical, like it's all about you. And then you get older, like, no, you have kids, and then you see other people die, and then you go see traveling places, and then all of a sudden you have a different perspective. So the psychosocial emotional aspect of things grows as we get older. But our physical avatars are these meat suits that we have, that we carry around with us. These are the things that deteriorate if we're not careful, right? And so the things we can do, absolutely, we can do very simple things on a daily basis to help. But looking under the hood, that is the best way to truly reverse a lot of those physiologic markers that will inevitably change with us as we get older. And, of course, they're always going to change, even if we try, but we can still balance, we can still reverse a lot of these things and then improve our health span. Because in the end, if you're going to ask a genie for eternal life, you better also ask for eternal youth at the same time. Otherwise, you're going to be screwed, right? So when you're looking at health, you have to think about health span primarily first. And it's not like the YOLO culture of like you only live once. That's not what I mean. It's more like you want to live for as healthy as you can for as long as you can, and then you want to die as quickly and as painlessly as possible, right? So that's the goal here, right? And that's what metabolomics can help you do, and that's what the whole framework of health optimization medicine and practice was developed to help people do. Because I mean, there's so many things out there that are focused on disease and illness, and that's okay. Like we need to have conventional medicine, we need to have acute care, we need to have functional medicine. That's all really important. But who's working on that, the basic foundational level? And that's really where we saw an opening. And that's what the foundational framework of health optimization medicine is all about.
You know what? I love that. I say, I'm going to be 112 just for the record. So I'm not quite
Tomorrow?
midlife yet.
Your
Yep.
birthday?
Yep.
Okay, well, congratulations.
Thank you.
You're
112 is
great.
my date, and I'm just going to lay down, go to sleep, and not wake up because I think that's
Okay.
how it's supposed to happen.
Okay.
And I always tell everybody my goal is at least to get you past that 100 mark because, I think who's the guy, bald head, the Smuckers guy, where you get to be on the commercial.
Yeah, the commercial. Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
I'm forgetting his name right now, but you get to put. Actually, both my aunt and my great grandmother were on that. We have her face on a big Smuckers jar. She got to be on TV for being over 100, and I think that's a goal everybody should have on their list.
Right, but also to be vital at that time, right? Not to be in a wheelchair so I think what's happening now, as you know, Cindy, is that longevity, people are living longer overall, although that's been a little bit less the case over the last several years after the pandemic, but in general, living longer, but their time with disability and comorbidities is just gigantically increasing, right? We have kids now, in their teens or even younger sometimes, but certainly 20s and 30s. Like we used to think that this is when everybody was going to be the most healthy. Like I was discussing, this is when we're optimizing people's ranges too. But now people are getting really sick in their 20s and early 30s and having significant morbidity and a decline in their health as a result of that for long periods of time. So what we're hoping to do, obviously, is trying to reverse some of those trends. And a lot of that has to do with very basic things, of course, but looking at laboratory data can be very, very helpful for people because it gives them something to kind of benchmark as they're kind of going through their process of healing.
Okay, so I'm the person out there that knows nothing about any of this, right? I've just been plowing through life, avoiding doctors, eating Oreo cookies, having my alcoholic drink on a Friday night, and now I want to get started. So where do you recommend that we start based on your organization and that, as you say, looking under the hood? What do we want to look for first?
It's so individual, right? Because it really depends on where people are in their process. Some people are like, I'm not going to change anything, but I want to feel better, right? And then, you're here, you're going to spend money to talk to me, and you're going to work with me as a practitioner to do this. Where can I kind of find that angle? And oftentimes it's a very simple one. Typically, it's trying to find one of those, cornerstone habits, as we call them, things that can kind of be like one habit that can spur on a lot of different things, so that they realize that there's so much more that they can do to feel better. Exercise is a big one of those, right? So if somebody starts exercising, all of a sudden everything else gets a little bit easier. They don't want to eat as poorly. They don't want to drink as much. They don't want to wake up hungover as much, depending on the person, depending on their liver. If they're Irish or something, it might be different. I've had a lot of friends like that. Cindy might be like that. I don't know. But back in the day, like I was always bad. I always had terrible hangovers, always. But I had friends that always, that had fantastic mornings after drinking, and I kind of felt jealous of them. But now I'm like, it's not a good thing to have no hangover because it keeps you drinking. But anyway, so like if it's like, ideally it's a behavior and lifestyle thing that you can do for people to start changing things. But like the simple things are the most important. How much are you sleeping? What is your stress? How are you breathing? How are you eating? How are you moving? Like the basic stuff. But again, some people are like, no, just tell me what to take. Like, I don't want to do any of that right now. Like, and so the easiest thing to do with those kinds of people I found is actually just have them start intermittent fasting. Have them just eat for less of the day. So instead of eating for 17 hours a day, have them eat for 8 or a 10-hour window. And they say, eat what you typically eat. Not going to change you for now. Just have a smaller window of when you're actually eating. And when that happens, they just typically can't eat as much calorie intake at that time. And so they start losing weight and they start feeling better. Like, I can continue to do this. So what else can I do to help, me lose another 20 pounds or whatever it might be? So, and then maybe come with like small tweaks in their diet. Instead of the Oreos, maybe we can do like, I don't know, what's a good alternative for an Oreo? Something that's not an Oreo, anything, I guess it would be a good alternative.
Right.
But you get what I mean. So like some small little changes. But I love laboratory data because I'm like, look, your cells are just dying here. Like they can't get enough energy. You're toxic. Look at these levels. Look at that. Like if you keep doing this, you're not going to be able to do the things that you want in the next 5 to 10 years. Right. So like you can have those conversations too. It really depends on the person. I know you probably can relate here.
Oh, for sure. And just for the record, I am one of those people that you didn't like because I metabolize alcohol so quick that I get drunk off of 3 sips and I sober up really quickly and there's no hangover. So my drinking's pretty little because when you get drunk on 3 sips, it's hard to be social and
True.
not be dancing
Yeah.
on the top of the bar, which is pretty much my thing if I have a little too much to drink. So
And then like an hour later, you're completely sober. Interesting.
totally,
Yeah. Yeah. Wow.
absolutely.
That's impressive. Yeah. That's
And I have no
impressive. Yeah.
filter sober, so you can only imagine what it's like with a couple cocktails.
Does it get the opposite for you? Like, do you become actually like less social?
No, I think it gets worse.
Okay.
Like
Some
way
people have that
worse.
kind of, yeah, no, I got it. Yeah. Yeah. For me, look, I think that metabolomics is a fantastic science. But the challenge with it all, Cindy, is that optimizing somebody and reversing their levels to when they were back to 21 and 30 years of age, it can take a lot of time. It's not something that happens overnight. And most people want to feel better like tomorrow, right? And that is not really the case for many people. It can take 6 months or a year. And then depending on how compliant they want to be or how much they're ready, to say it nicer, how much they're ready to truly engage in their health, is a big spectrum for people. So that's when, so we have our nonprofit. We actually created our for-profit company, Transcriptions, as a way to kind of help people, right now while they're on that longer path to getting themselves better and optimizing, which we know can take a while. So we need help with energy. We need help with focus. We need help with anxiety, with sleep, with stress, with our immune system. So Transcriptions was developed as a way to help our patients right now while they're on that longer path.
So that's the great segue as to why my mouth was blue, right?
Yes.
So
Yeah.
let's talk
the color
about
you don't
that.
like, but that's true.
So people are probably going, what is she talking about? A blue mouth? Let's go there. Let's talk about methylene blue.
Yeah. So the first compound that we got very interested in as a company was methylene blue. And methylene blue has been around for over 150 years. It was developed in the mid 1800s as a textile dye to dye blue jeans blue. So if you're wearing blue jeans and you were from the 1870s, you might have been having blue jeans dyed with methylene blue. But somehow they figured out that at high doses, it was a magic bullet, which means that it was, and that's what they called it, because at very high doses, it would kill pathogens in the body, but it would not harm normal cells. And it was one of the first compounds to be found to have this kind of capacity. So it was used very, very high doses as a treatment for malaria, actually. And it was the only antimicrobial around until the 1950s. And so very, very popular for urinary tract infections, for fungal infections. If you went to like a lot of the countries around the world were actually using these things called like methylene blue lollipops, basically. And they would actually paint their kids' mouths with methylene blue because it helped with viral infections too. And it still does. And it just became out of favor because antimicrobials that do not turn your mouth blue or do not turn your urine blue, which is what also methylene blue will do because it concentrates in your urine. Methylene blue does those things and antimicrobials don't. They just nuclear bomb your GI system, but that's cool, right? So no, it's not cool. It's uncool. But over the last 50 or 60 years now, we know that methylene blue has a lot of different indications. It also has a mood lifting effect as well. It works something called like a monoamine oxidase inhibitor, which basically means it increases neurotransmitters, norepinephrine, dopamine, and serotonin. So it makes you feel better. The first antipsychotic actually was derived from methylene blue. And so that's an interesting story. But then in addition, what we used it for and what we use it for now is that it's a fantastic mitochondrial optimizer. And so our mitochondria are where we make energy in our cells. We have our most mitochondria. Do you know what cells have our most mitochondria per cell, Cindy? Trick question? Not really. So if you're male or female, males, sperm, females, ovaries have the most mitochondria per cell. After that, it's your heart, your liver, and your brain. So if you have mitochondrial dysfunction, you likely have a problem in one of those locations. So brain fog, concentration issues, chronic fatigue, muscle. So if you exercise-induced fatigue, that's because you have a lot of mitochondria in your muscle. If you can't get pregnant, this is likely because you have a mitochondrial issue. I mean, there's a lot of reasons why you might have a mitochondrial issue, right? But in general, if you have mitochondrial dysfunction, it's going to be very hard to get pregnant as well. And so common reasons people have mitochondrial dysfunction, insulin resistance is number one, actually. So people that have high blood sugars, toxin exposures, medications, and many other things as well. But those are some of the main categories. So what methylene blue can do is actually can compensate for almost any challenge that the mitochondria is having and increase energy production no matter what might be happening to the mitochondria to cause it to not make energy well. At the same time, it works as an antioxidant. So not only does it help you work with energy production, but also works as an antioxidant. So kind of mopping up free radicals and oxidative stress and things like that are happening on the cellular level. So there's very few compounds that do both.
So is this the type of compound that we have to stay on indefinitely in order to get the benefits from, or is it a short-term use? We get our punch and our wow and we can move on.
So this is the deal, right? It depends on how you're using it. In the sense, like for most people, the hope would be that you can compensate for their mitochondrial dysfunction using methylene blue. And then over the long term, with vitamins, minerals, behavioral stuff, lifestyle, diet, like you're changing the ecosystem in the mitochondria in a way that you do not require the methylene blue to continue to compensate for mitochondria that aren't working very well. And I do see that over time. If you're working with people long term, you can see these benefits of starting methylene blue early and then seeing how they're overall feeling better much faster. It kind of gives you like a cornerstone habit for your mitochondria, like, oh crap, I feel good all of a sudden. This is amazing. Now we have to do the work of actually supporting it, right? There's some evidence that methylene blue can help remodel the mitochondria a little bit and improve some of the complexes that are in the mitochondria that are helping with energy production. But I think the bigger piece of it is that for like long-term, for chronic complex medical illness, if you're working on the mitochondria itself using a comprehensive framework, health optimization medicine or another one, then you're going to see the benefits of being able to be on methylene blue short-term and then long-term be able to wean them off of the methylene blue. But in other cases, like if it's endurance, if it's protecting yourself from jet lag when you're on an airplane, like those are, short-term uses of methylene blue where you don't have to use them very often. It just, use it kind of as needed.
I love this. So let's backtrack a little bit, because when you talk about ovaries and sperm, it gets my radar up, because I love to talk about sexual health topics. What happens then? Like, here's what I'm thinking, and the question I want to ask you is, okay, so now we have a male who is beyond the fertility stage. He doesn't want to procreate at this point and chooses to have a vasectomy. What happens on a mitochondrial cellular level for men that do that? What's the effect, and how will methylene blue alter that in a good way?
So this is a very intricate question you ask in the sense of how this is all going to work. But I mean, certainly men that have vasectomies still produce sperm, right? The sperm just gets resorbed over time. And as a result of that, it's just kind of a process of, I think it's a slower process. I'm not exactly sure if it's more prolonged, if you have sperm around longer, or exactly how it works. But in general, I don't know that methylene blue would have a huge effect on the sperm production in this case, right? Because the sperm just got anywhere to go. It's gonna stay there. Then it's gonna resorb itself. It's gonna make more of that kind of process. But I would say that from a cognitive perspective, especially as we get older, our brains, our big brains up here, us men, just to give you more sexual references, as I know you like, that's going to improve over time using methylene blue. And actually, they've studied it in mild cognitive impairment. They're studying it in Alzheimer's disease as well at these lower doses and seeing significant benefit overall. So just like Viagra, right? You take your methylene blue with your Viagra, right? Because we know that these Viagra and Cialis and others are actually now being shown to decrease your risk of dementia if you take them, because they're enhancing blood flow to the brain. And the cool thing about methylene blue is that, again, it can improve energy production in the mitochondria. But additional thing that it can do, and this is correlated to how it helps in jet lag actually, is that it can act just like oxygen in your cells. So if you don't have enough oxygen around, you don't typically have the capacity to make energy. And this is what can cause severe injuries in people that have like a stroke or a heart attack or something like that. But even in Alzheimer's patients, like, and other people as they get older, like their brains start shrinking because the blood vessels start dying in the actual brain itself, and causing it harder to get blood flow to the area. So what methylene blue can do is it actually can act just like oxygen and be that final electron acceptor and continue to help those cells make energy, even if there's not as much oxygen around. So it's actually very impactful in that capacity. If you're on an airplane, for example, and if you're coming to visit me in Colorado, or even if you're on the airplane, you're actually pressurized to 8,000 feet. And that's about 14% oxygen or so in the air compared to 21% oxygen in the air that's at sea level. And so you have methylene blue around, it's going to help you make more energy up there, even if you don't have as much oxygen around. And then you come to Colorado, you come visit me, I give everybody methylene blue for the same reason.
So before I go lay in my hyperbaric oxygen chamber, I want to use this.
I do use it in that capacity because, and I do it for this reason. When it comes down to helping people make energy effectively, like that's one of the most important things that we can do as, I think, clinicians, because if we can't make energy effectively, our patients will feel like shit. And Again, this is not only from a brain perspective, from a cardiac perspective, from a detox perspective, from a being able to have baby perspective, right? So when I think about hyperbaric therapy, it's revving up the process of helping you make more energy. But can you do that effectively? Are you able to do that efficiently? Are you toxic? So that's what metabolomics is really good for, because you can actually measure a lot of what's going on under the hood in your cells, in your mitochondria, to know what's happening. And then I add on a lot of methylene blue here to help support mitochondrial function as we're revving up the system by giving it more oxygen. So
Awesome.
It's a fantastic combination.
So would I actually be able to potentiate the effects of things like, let's say, a beetroot, an arginine, a CoQ10, a glutathione by coupling it with the methylene blue?
So what I often do is when I know I'm giving methylene blue, I'm also giving all of the cofactors like you just mentioned for energy metabolism, because you want to be able to support that cell to be able to make more energy while you're allowing it the process or the possibility to do so. Yeah. So oftentimes on your B complex and on your base supplements to make sure you're making energy effectively.
I love it.
And
So from a
detoxing,
marketing
yeah.
standpoint, is this the healthy little blue pill?
Yes, exactly. You got it. Yeah. It's the healthy little blue troche in our case, right? But so when you said your mouth was blue, so we have this particular type of dosage form called a troche, which is a dissolvable lozenge. It's a square. I might have one somewhere around here. I have a different product, but it's a square. And it's easy it's scored. So it's very easy for you to break up with with a knife, with your hands. I do them with my hands. It looks like this over here. So we can kind of see. And this is one of the orange ones. This is our trocom, but the buccal troche is great because it's scored, as you saw those little lines, and it's titratable, so you can take a quarter, a half, or a full. The nice thing about a buccal troche overall is that being up here between your upper cheek and gums means it works faster, and the ingredients are going to be more bioavailable, which means that they're going to get in the system at higher levels compared to swallowing them. But the cool thing about methylene blue is that it's highly bioavailable no matter how you take it. So you can put in your mouth here, or you can swallow it. If you put in your mouth here, it's going to work faster. Your mouth is going to be blue. Not your favorite color, Cindy, I know. But you can also just swallow it. That's okay too. And the nice thing about swallowing it is that, again, your mouth won't be blue. The effect will take a little bit longer to feel. But typically what people feel when they take methylene blue is like they feel a rise. They feel a little bit like of a mood boost. They feel a little more energy. They feel just a little bit more focused, but they don't feel like they're on a stimulant typically. Like that's not the it's not stimulating. It's more just elevating is what I say. And so like you just feel you can keep going. You don't have like the sort of Adderall kind of feel to it. Like we have another product for that, as you know, but we have the pure methylene blue. We have at 2 doses, one at a very low dose at 16 milligrams per troche, and then have one at 50 milligrams, 50. The 16s are more for mitochondrial optimization. We've had a lot of great experiences with people with chronic complex medical types of things, your long COVID, fibromyalgia, chronic fatigue, chronic viral infection, mold exposure that's mostly been treated, but still has some significant mitochondrial dysfunction. And you have even people on the other side of things, like endurance athletes, or use methylene blue because it helps with endurance. I have a friend of mine who's actually been testing this for me recently. He does a lot of like hypoxic training, and he notices that when he uses methylene blue, he hypoxic trains, and then he goes to do his training outside of hypoxia. He has significant improvements in his capacity overall as well. So a huge spectrum of people can benefit from the 16 milligrams. And then the 50s are more for acute mitochondrial stress, for acute infection, and things like that. So I have all my patients have the higher strength methylene blue called Tro Plus Blue in their medicine cabinets, just in case they need it. And then the methylene blue at the lower dose is more for, kind of chronic kind of daily health optimization utilization.
I love it. I think, my son is now out in Fort Collins, Colorado, and he's
Right.
wrestling out there and he's gasping for every last breath because, he spent his whole life training at very low altitudes here in Chicago. And, he's super excited to be able to outlast all his friends now when he comes home. But like, this sounds like a perfect thing, right? To help even just with something that simple.
Yeah, endurance is a big thing. I mean, especially in athletes and endurance types of sports. So I have a good example of a guy that it's called the ultra marathons. They're the 100-mile races. There's the hardest one in the country is actually here in Colorado. Not surprisingly, it's called Leadville, and it's all altitude. It goes up to about 13,000 feet, I think, just about, and it's 100 miles. And so I worked with a guy this year on race time. He improved his race time by 3 hours this year, and he used high dose. I was giving him 32 milligrams of methylene blue every 4 hours. And then I was giving him our blue carnitine, which is a combination of methylene blue with nicotine, caffeine, and CBD. This is more of our Adderall type of one. This is more stimulating. It's fantastic, about 3 to 5 hours of focus, of drive, of productivity. You probably don't need it, Cindy, but in general, but a lot of people really do benefit from like these 3 to 5 hours of just, getting it done. We all have a hard time focusing these days, of course. And so, anyways, he got 3 hours off of his time using the Methylene Blue at the higher dose, 32 milligrams of 2 of our Just Blue troches every 4 hours, and the Blue Canatine every 4 hours, a full troche as well. That has, a little bit of nicotine in it. As I did mention, people get scared about that, but nicotine is actually a fantastic cognitive enhancer.
Mm-hmm.
It actually decreases brain inflammation, and it makes you feel more driven to do shit. So that's good, right? But it's just bad to have a lot of nicotine, especially vaping or smoking, because it's addicting, especially with the other stuff that's in those products.
Right. And sometimes it's the delivery system, right? So when we have a better delivery system, we can use it as a benefit versus a negative.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's why we're using nicotine now in a lot in long COVID patients as well. So we're seeing a lot of long COVID patients that are benefiting from nicotine. We've actually had people that have taken our Blue Canatine and they've gotten their smell back after 2 years of not having any smell. I mean,
yeah, smell and
cool
taste
stuff like that.
Right?
Yeah.
Like both of those. Yeah. For
nicotine seems to be a very
years.
good stimulus to help get those things back. So if you've had COVID or long COVID and you're still having issues with taste or with smell, nicotine might be something that you could try. I would suggest with a practitioner, of course, but I have a lot of practitioner friends that are using nicotine patches in these kinds of patients with benefit.
So now that everybody's thinking I've got to turn my mouth blue in order to feel amazing,
you can swallow. It's okay.
No, it is okay. I'm encouraging them to, but I want to make sure because as we always see, there's all these great recommendations. Are there any contraindications though, or concerns that people need to be aware of?
Yeah. So with Methylene Blue, if you're pregnant or breastfeeding, like every other drug on the planet, like don't take Methylene Blue because the studies are kind of terrible. Actually, we don't actually. Anyway, they're not greatly done, but at this point, we can say you should take it if you're pregnant or breastfeeding. Okay. The other relative thing to be careful of is that because Methylene Blue increases some neurotransmitters like norepinephrine, dopamine, and serotonin, you have to be mindful if your patients are on drugs that prevent the reuptake of those particular types of neurotransmitters. So if you're on SSRIs or SNRIs, for example. Now, as long as you're not using IV Methylene Blue, it's really going to be okay. But I would suggest if you're on an SSRI or SNRI, you work with a practitioner if you want to try Methylene Blue. But I have integrative psychiatrists that are using Methylene Blue as a way to wean their patients off things like SSRIs, because now I think we all know that the studies have now been very obvious that depression is not a serotonin deficiency, right? Serotonin is definitely not, is not involved in depression in that case. So if you're taking SSRIs or SNRIs, make sure you're working with a practitioner if you're using Methylene Blue. But but what I can tell you also is that we have integrative psychiatrists that are weaning their patients off of off their SSRIs using Methylene Blue, because we now know that, obviously that the studies have been pretty clear that serotonin is not the cause of depression, like low serotonin levels, right? Because they've done these studies. So you don't have a serotonin deficiency if you have depression. You have depression, that's for sure. But and there's other things you can do about it. But serotonin is not like the only thing you can do. And there's other ways to kind of approach it.
I love it. So let's go through, how many products do you have now currently?
So I think we have 7 right now. And so we have 3 that are based on Methylene Blue that we've kind of alluded to. We have Blue Canatine, which is our combination for focus. We have our lower dose Just Blue, which is our 16 milligrams of Methylene Blue. We have our higher dosed, it's called Tro Plus Blue, and that's our 50 milligram strength. That one's only for practitioners. So as a practitioner, you can get it for your office, you can drop ship it to your patients, but you can't, as a consumer, get it directly, because we want practitioners to be able to help navigate with the higher doses. Then we have things that are based on the GABAergic system. So we have 2 products that are based on optimizing how our GABA system works in our brain. And GABA is the neurotransmitter in our brain that helps us relax, calm down. Most of us are used to being on all the time or want to be on all the time, but very few of us know how to shut off very easily. And I know the way you do this, Cindy, is you try to go away for periods of time where nobody can contact you, which I think is great. But you're still very helpful even on vacation. So thank you for that. But at the same time, most of us have a hard time shutting off, and the GABA system is really important for us to be able to do that. And many of us are now deficient in that system because we deplete it very quickly because of stress, because of various aspects of our lifestyle that make it very difficult to replete GABA, like we're magnesium deficient or B6 deficient, or we're toxic exposed. We have a lot of gut inflammation. These all mess up our GABA system. And so we have 2 called Trocom and Troz. Trocom is a combination of something called kava, which helps relax the nervous system, CBD and CBG, which are also actually working on the GABA system, but working on the endocannabinoid system at the same time, which is our body's internal cannabis system. We have one of those, everybody, that helps relax us and calm us down. It's called the endocannabinoid system. And then we have something in there called nicotinol GABA. The problem with GABA supplements, and I think you know this, Cindy, because you've heard me talk on this more times than you probably wanted to already, is that the problem with GABA is that it's too big of a molecule to get into the brain, to get across the blood-brain barrier. So if GABA supplements work for you, this often means that you have a brain barrier that's not working and not doing what it's supposed to do. I tell my patients they have leaky brains. They don't like that, but that's what it is. And all that usually correlates to is that you have a leaky gut at the same time that need to be addressed. And so nicotinol GABA, which is Introcom, gets across that barrier, even if it's working well, gets vitamin B3, which is and GABA. So nicotinol GABA is actually vitamin B3 and a GABA kind of stuck together, and then it gets across the barrier. It breaks up into B3 and to GABA. So you have GABA, you have B3, which is mildly activating. So you take Trocom, you feel relaxed, but you don't feel tired, which is kind of nice. And then we have Troz, which is an 8-ingredient comprehensive formula that's working on the GABA system too. My favorite ingredient in that one is something called agarin, which is from the psychedelic mushroom, the Amanita muscaria mushroom, which is what's known very widely from Santa Claus mythology, from reindeers and psychedelic trips of Santa in Northern Europe, along with Alice in Wonderland. And it's this beautiful mushroom that has these red caps and white dots. But this non-psychedelic compound works on the GABA site of the GABA receptor, and it's about 6.5 hours of maintenance of GABA levels to help people sleep.
Absolutely love this. So really fun, really exciting. We're using it in practice. We're seeing you all over the place. And at the end, if you stay tuned, we're going to find out how people can actually get a hold of the product. So we're got to give you a little teaser to hang on. Scott, I want to change gears just for 1 second, because some of my background is about overcoming adversity and sharing stories and
Sure.
inspiring other people to be able to do that too. And I know, you mentioned before we started the program today that you've actually had an experience where you had to explore yourself a little bit, right? Due to a failed business venture, I believe. Would you be willing to share a little bit? I'd love to talk about that.
Yeah. I mean, look, failure is an extremely amazing opportunity for all of us. And it doesn't always feel like that when it's happening, that's for sure. But for me, I think in my evolution of trying to find out what kind of doctor I wanted to be and what kind of businesses that I wanted to run, I was a medical director of a hyperbaric facility in the Bay Area that all of a sudden decided it could no longer operate because it didn't have enough money. And I had no control of this. It wasn't my facility. I was just running it as a medical director. And I had this whole plan of what I was going to do and how big I was going to grow it and all that stuff I was going to, I could see the path, right? Then the whole thing just kind of crashed down and I was like, what the hell am I going to do now? Right. And it was actually a fantastic opportunity for me because I realized for the first time that I could only go so far. I got almost as far as I could intellectually, as far as like I could only push things more from like a cognitive perspective, so much more that there had to be like a different level where I was able to kind of access parts of who I was as a person that was very different than just trying to be like a hard charging, doctor and try to be a businessman. I knew nothing about business. That was the other thing I had to learn, which I'm still learning. But anyway, so that was the first time I did like a 3-day fast, for example. Like I was like, well, what am I going to do? Somehow my kids were gone for like a day, which is shocking when you have 4 children. But I was like, and so I decided I would do like my first 3-day fast. Like I would go to my first like personal development conference. And then after all these things happened, I was like, oh, there's like this huge world of things that I didn't realize that I really felt aligned with, that was very different, right? So hyperbaric medicine is still a big part of what I do, but it became just a part of what I did in a more of like a holistic, integrative way, starting work with this nonprofit that we mentioned earlier, Health Optimization Medicine Practice, getting involved with that organization and the people involved in that organization, and then growing into its own for-profit business, the transcriptions business, but still having my own clinical practice and still working with patients in an integrative way and having my own, work on the hyperbaric side too. So I do it all, in some ways now, but it's become, if that all didn't happen, I was supposed to be the medical director actually of a facility in LA at the same time, and do their like IVs and all this stuff. And like, thank God that didn't work out. I would never have wanted to work with that guy. It would have been terrible. So like, so thank God that didn't work out and that failed. Right. So, anyways, I'm always happy for failure. And it's not easy in the beginning, but usually it opens up about a million opportunities, and then you got to figure out how to rein it in at some point. And that's certainly what happened to me after things kind of went south.
We're exactly where we're supposed to be, aren't we?
Where else could we be? That's what
Right.
I always say. Like, I think there's a good, I've also learned a lot about, Tibetan philosophy and Buddhist philosophy over the years. I don't think I would classify myself. I'm Jewish, but like there's people that call themselves like Jubus, Jewish Buddhists. I think that's great. I love that. I love that term, but I wouldn't say that I'm there, but I do like a lot of Buddhist philosophy. And one thing they always say is like, there's like, so it's like the idea that like you are if you really can't regret anything, right? Because there's really no capacity to do that because you are exactly where you are now, and there's really nothing you can do about it. There's nothing you can do, right? Like no matter how much time you spend thinking about all the things you did wrong or you didn't wrong, it doesn't matter because it's all gone. Like it's all gone. So like what's the use, right? So live in the moment, like and try to. As I always tell my kids, you can begin again at any moment, right? And that's the idea here. So, that's what I think about this all the time. What am I going to do? This is where I am. This is what I'm going to do.
Yeah, I might be a little Jubu myself without even realizing it. That's actually pretty cool. That might have to be the next t-shirt, Julie, my producer who's listening in the background. We need a Jubu, Dr. Cindy, Dr. Scott t-shirt.
I love it. Yeah. Yeah. When I first heard that term, it's kind of interesting, right? Like a lot of the first people that went over to India and to, the Southeast Asia to learn Tibetan philosophy in China as well, in Tibet, like they were Jewish actually. So like a lot of these guys and gals came back and like, that's what they were calling themselves. They were the Jubus. So I've learned a lot from those people over the years. And it's a big part of what I do.
I love that. Well, if you start a new tribe, I want to be an honorary member. Okay.
Of course.
I'm in.
Of course. And likewise, come on.
Okay. For sure. We'll figure out how to make this a movement.
Well, we need to make sure that we know the government can't take our money. So let's make sure we have enough nonprofits, right?
Well, the big secret is, a bunch of Jews have some of that money. So, I think we're good.
We're okay. I'm not complaining.
Yeah, me neither. I'm doing all right myself. So, as much as I love the living in the moment, what is next though? What are you jazzed about? What's on the horizon for you?
Well, I mean, I think there's so many things that I'm excited about overall. I mean, but on a day-to-day perspective, my goal is just to try to enjoy the days that I have and not try to be too far in the future with what we think or may happen because nobody really knows. And like living in the future makes you anxious. Living in the past makes you depressed. I think that's what they say, right? So I tell I have one daughter that kind of does this all the time. Like, Dad, what are we doing tomorrow? What are we doing the next day? I'm like, no. So, but in the future, I'm really excited about growing the transcriptions business. I think we're very much going into products that are going to be very directed towards practitioners only. So won't be available to the general consumer, but you'll be able to get them through your practitioner. So we'll have something specifically for sleep, something specifically for the immune system that's going to be just for practitioners, something for pain. Because I love the capacity in my own clinical practice to be able to utilize these things and see the benefit very quickly in the people that I'm working with overall. So very excited for that. The nonprofit's growing, is training more practitioners. I don't think too far in the future, to be honest. It's more just like it's the hustle, but like enjoying it, right, as best we can. So,
and I knew it was a lousy answer after we just became Jubus together, but
I know it's like hard to say.
Anyway, it was like, I didn't listen to that whole
plan.
Conversation, and then
this is my 10-year plan, Cindy. No, I've never had one.
Right? Okay. Well,
this is my 5-year plan.
It's never going to stay the same anyway, right? Even people who have it, there's always a shift or a change.
That's the thing. Like I getting into business has been so funny. Like people like put in these cap tables and all these these projections. Like, what is this bullshit? You have no idea. Like this is ridiculous. And people believe this stuff. Like it's just amazing. Anyway,
listen, we're all walking through life guessing sometimes, right?
Yeah, I'm just a doctor. We're just doctors. I don't know what else is going on.
Me too. And just, for the record, we'll make sure that for the products that come out that are physician only, that people have access through this program to be able to reach out through me and get the products. So I assure you, we will figure out how to get them in your hands. You know what? We are going to take a quick break. We've had a great conversation, but it is time to thank some of our sponsors. So let's do that real quick, but come back. Cause as you know, and Scott is not prepared for this cause we don't tell our guests what we're going to do at the very end, but I've got a couple rapid fire questions for you. I'd love to see your answers. So stay tuned. Give us just a minute or two. This is your weekly dose of Dr. Cindy, the Positively Altered podcast. stop. Hit that follow button now and spread the love with Positively Altered. And we're back. As much as I love all the information, this is some of my favorite stuff that I get to do with my guests because I'm going to ask them questions they had no idea I was going to ask. And we see where it goes. Sometimes it's fun. Sometimes it's quirky. Sometimes it makes absolutely zero sense. We're going to do it anyway. You ready, Scott?
I'm in.
All right. First question, pretty simple. If you could change snow from being white to any color on the planet, oh, I'm going to take a deep breath because I know what you're going to say. What color is it going to be?
Oh, come on. Blue all the way.
Okay. So I'm going to change the question. If you can't make it methylene blue, what color would you make it?
I would make it orange.
Oh, I love that. It's my favorite color. We're going to take orange.
I knew I'd get you there. Okay.
Yeah.
Good.
And I knew what your answer was going to be. So I should have found a different question. All right. You are going to go to the Olympics. You are going to excel at any sport that you could possibly excel at. What sport are you going to pick?
Oh, that's a good question. Oh man. I would say I'd be awesome to be like an amazing gymnast. Like if I had it would be awesome to be that strong and see what they do.
And what apparatus are you winning the gold in? Or are you going to be the all-around guy that wins it and everything?
I'll be the all-around guy. Come on. I can't specialize in just one thing. That's not my style.
All right. So you're going to excel at all. All right. Perfect. Do you think that as a floor routine, men should have music then assigned? Because like the women get this great, right? This great
they
audio.
Should. Yeah. I know what's up with that, right?
I don't understand.
Yeah. I don't know. I think it's an abomination.
Yeah. I think men have some good moves. We should definitely put music to the floor routine for men in the Olympics.
Indeed. I 100% agree.
Yeah. I have this whole list, Scott, of how I'm going to change the world in 4 hours. I'm going to add that to my list because that's a new one for me.
That's a simple one. That's like that's low hanging fruit, right? I like that. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. All right, good. We've got that down. You'll be the first gold medalist on the floor with audio.
I have some music that I'm already thinking about.
Oh, what? Okay. What is it going to be?
Oh, I don't want to tell you. The first thing that comes to mind, of course, is that I have 4 children, 3 of which are women or girls, and there's tons of Taylor Swift. So like 3 Taylor Swift songs came to my head right away. But that might give the wrong impression. I don't know. Maybe it's perfect. I don't know.
Actually, I have to tell you something. I love Taylor Swift, and I know there's people out there just cringing when I say that, but I started taking my daughter, I have one daughter, I started taking her to Taylor Swift concerts. I think she was like, I don't know, 6 or 8 or whatever, who knows, whatever age she was. Yeah. And it was like, her music is just awesome and her shows are tasteful and they're not inappropriate for young girls, and like her or hate her, from a music standpoint. I mean, she's an amazing human being that's doing amazing things in the world of music. So
she's an impressive singer, business lady, the whole thing. So
right. So no negative thoughts here because you went with Taylor Swift.
Okay, there you go. I mean, I typically wake up in the morning with at least 1 to 3 Taylor songs in my head because of my children. So these are kind of mashed up together at the same time. So.
It's all good. You know what? Since I've written my book, I've actually said out loud in the universe, because I do believe things come true when you try to manifest them. She doesn't know this yet, but I want Taylor Swift to read the book and be so inspired that she actually writes a song about my life. And then I get to stand on stage with her and read like a couple lines from the book. And then she breaks out into music.
Oh, well, like one of her songs comes to mind, like when she's like breaking up with somebody that doesn't want to break up with her. I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah. So one day somebody's going to like say, you've got to listen to this podcast because Dr. Cindy has a plan for you, and she's going to buy in and call me. And it's, so Taylor, call me, and we're going to make this like a big hit and do the Grammys and the whole 9 yards.
I'd love to be there when it happens.
You know what? I'll make you a deal. When this happens, I will have a blue mouth. I will walk on stage with my methylene blue. Right, upright in the gum line,
but you don't have to wear blue though.
You'll be there with me.
I won't wake. You don't have to wear any blue. I promise. Okay. But the blue mouth would be appreciated.
Well, I might just do it because it's quirky and fun.
Okay.
All right. If you could be a professional dancer, a professional singer, or a professional, where's my last one? Actor. What would you pick? Dancer, singer, actor?
It would be a singer. I was in the back when I was in medical school, and before that in in college, I was in a band. I played music a lot, and I was the by default lead singer because I wrote a lot of the music and I played guitar. So
what genre would you pick?
It was more like acoustic rock with like a jam kind of feel to it, I would say.
Nice.
So I mostly play acoustic guitar. I don't play as much as I used to, but
love it. Okay.
That's what I would do.
You know the question where they say if there was a person dead or alive you'd want to take to lunch and have a conversation with? I could care less about the person. I want to know what you're going to order for the meal that you're going to eat at the time you go.
What meal am I going to eat? Man, like this is like what kind of restaurant am I at? Like, is it breakfast? Is it lunch? Is it dinner? Doesn't matter.
Your choice. What would you pick? So, what would you pick?
my favorite, I think my favorite meal, like in the world from an American perspective, is a beautiful hamburger. Um, but I have this place near me in Boulder. They have gluten-free buns, they have grass-fed beef, and they have everything's organic, and they fry their French fries in tallow. So it's like one of my favorite meals of like I'm just like I love that meal because it's like it reminds me of being a kid and having a burger with French fries, which is like my favorite meals of all time. But it's like a healthy version of it, but it still tastes really, really good. So that's what comes to mind.
I love that. Can we give a shout out to the place?
Yeah, it's called Wild Pastures, and it's a place in Boulder, in Colorado. They actually have their own meat delivery program too, so you can go online and get Wild Pastures meat. They have grass-fed beef and grass-fed lamb, and I think some pork as well. So
Okay, excellent. So
yeah.
next time I'm out that way, we're going to check it out for sure.
You have to. Yeah, I mean, it's not that close to Fort Collins, but it's a nice place.
That's all right. Well, my youngest is looking at the University of Colorado at Boulder, so I may be down.
You might be hanging with me. Okay,
I may
cool.
be
All
moving
right.
to Colorado because I need residency, man. I mean, these schools are going to kill me.
It's true. It's true. Well, come on by. It's
What'd you say?
Come on over. It's great.
I just might. Be careful.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Last question. Super important. What was your favorite thing about doing the podcast today?
I just love hanging out with you, Cindy, because it's easy to have a conversation with people that are smart, that are funny, that know their shit, and are not afraid to wield that shit, but also wield it in a fun way at the same time. So, and I have a very similar frame as how I think about things. So, I'm really happy we met a couple of years ago and that we've gotten to do this. And you've been so supportive of the work that we're doing personally, myself, and also with my companies. And so I'm appreciative of being with you.
And I back at you. How does everybody find you, Scott? Where do we follow you? Where do we get product? I think you're going to give away some ebooks on Methylene Blue and GABA potentially. Tell us about that.
Sure. Yeah. Sure. So we have some books for sure that if you come to the podcast, we'll have those links down below. You can get and sign up for our ebooks easily. There's one on Methylene Blue, the down in the details and diving deep there for everybody. And then there's also one on GABA deficiency, what GABA is and how we can increase GABA in our life, turn on our off switch, as we say. So if you're looking for us on the socials and things like that, so Troscriptions is at Troscriptions. It's the word Troscription, TRO, scriptions, like prescriptions with a TRO in front of it, at Troscriptions. And there's also Troscriptions.com. You can find us, you find me personally at my own handle at Dr. Scott Scheer, at DrScottSherr. I think those are the major places. And our nonprofit is at Health Optimization Medicine in Practice. So that website is called homehope.org. And I think on Instagram, it's like at homehope.org or something like that, or something close. So
I love that you're not quite sure. I do the same thing with my stuff, right? I'm like, one day we were filming a video. I couldn't even remember the name of my own book. And I came up with the title. So, it's,
Yes, I understand.
Yeah. Cognitive impairment. We need the Methylene Blue. And there you have it.
We got you.
I love it. So everybody, thanks for joining us today. My favorite thing about the podcast was just spending time with you as well. I love that we're building this friendship and this relationship. We're going to see where it goes as we continue to change the world. If you want to learn more about me, you can check me out at drcindyspeaks.com. Find the book, Positively Altered, Finding Happiness at the Bottom of a Chemo Back. Back. There's the chiropractic reference. See, I just said I don't even know the name of my own book and I screwed it up. Finding Happiness at the Bottom of a Chemo Bag, not back. We're not going back, forward only. Amazon or other places books are sold. And check out all the links for everybody that's important to me related to this podcast. And again, how to find Dr. Scott. It's been an absolute pleasure. I hope everybody today was positively altered.